You like watches. You love wearing them, collecting them, and studying all their little details. But have you ever wondered if you could actually assemble one yourself? And if you did, would you end up with a great looking watch or a pile of tiny parts scattered across your desk? That's exactly what I'm about to find out with this GMT Diver kit from the DIY Watch Club. I'll show you how I assembled the watch, the mistake that forced me to take it apart and start all over, and I'll also take a look at their new Pro Watchmaking toolset on this episode of Adventures with Time. This is the Diver GMT with PVD black case and forged carbon dial and bezel insert. The DIY Watch Club provided me with the watchmaking kit for this model, along with their upgraded Pro Watchmaking toolset. To be clear, I get to keep the assembled watch and tools gratis. If you're interested in getting your own watch kit and tools, please use my affiliate link in the description. This is definitely a tool watch, all black with white accents for telling time, a 24-hour bezel, screw-down crown, and rubber strap. But I'll give you all the details later. For now, here's how I assembled this watch, and see if you can spot my mistake. For this Pro Toolkit, everything comes in a single box. In this compartment, you'll find information on accessing the assembly tutorial videos. Over here are all the watch components I'll need to assemble the watch. These items will vary depending on which watch model you select. For this GMT Diver, there is an FKM black rubber strap, watch case and GMT bezel insert, movement and dial, 2 sets of hands in case you damage any, and this hour wheel spring. Underneath is the Pro Toolkit box. You get a 3x loop, dust blower, pegwood, 2 tweezers, a dual tip spring bar tool, and a screwdriver with 5 interchangeable tips. There are also hand removal levers, hand setting tools, a movement holder, rodicchio, a case back tool, and a few other odds and ends. Basically, it gives you everything you need to get started without having to buy a bunch of separate tools. I recommend watching the tutorials for your specific watch model first so you can familiarize yourself with the entire process. Then have them ready to view again during each step. This was how I set up my assembly work area. The only thing I wanted that wasn't included was a dust cover, which I already had. You'll see that along with the special tool DIY sent me later in the video. Here we go, and you'll notice a few scenes are sped up to keep the pace brisk. And remember to watch for the error I made. The first step was removing the crown and stem from the case. Then I took off the case back, removed the gasket, movement holder, and chapter ring. These were easy steps. The movement comes with a temporary stem and crown, so we need to replace that with the real one. Anytime you remove a watch stem, it would be nice to have an extra set of hands. Alas, I'm not an octopus. I didn't use that foam holder DIY provided. I'm fairly adept at using my fingers to hold the movement and press the stem release while pulling on the crown. Once I inserted the real stem, I gave the crown a turn to make sure that the hand gears rotated. Next comes installing the dial. There are 2 feet on the dial with corresponding holes in the movement. Just line them up and press down gently. Once the dial is properly seated, you want to put the movement in the spacer, which prevents it from rattling around inside the case. Now comes the hardest part of assembly, setting the hands. This is where things get tricky. The 4 hands all fit onto progressively smaller posts, so each one has to sit without touching the dial or bumping the hand above or below it. This movement has a date complication, so we want the hands to align close to 12 o'clock when the date changes. Now I'm ready to set the hands. I like to use a little rodico to place the hands on the post. You may prefer to use tweezers. I use pegwood to make small adjustments before pressing the hand into place with the correct hand setting tool. The hour hand went on fairly easy, as did the minute hand. And the alignment with the flipping of the date wheel looked very good. But I noticed the minute hand wasn't seated properly, so I had to fix that. Resetting a hand is something you'll probably do at least once during the process. And after this, I took a break before tackling the hardest operation, which is setting the second hand. And speaking of hard operations, let me tell you about these watch seam activity books. If you enjoy watches beyond just wearing them, these are a lot of fun. They're designed for enthusiasts at all levels, beginner to advanced, and are a great way to test and expand your horological knowledge. The Watch Lovers Puzzle Book, More Watch Lovers Puzzles, and for a real challenge, the Watch Lovers Rebus Puzzle Book. They're available on Amazon, link in the description. If you'd like to support the channel, picking up one of these is a great way of doing that. Or you can simply use the thanks button below. Always appreciated. Now back to the watch assembly. Setting the second hand is for me the hardest part of the entire build. Unlike the other hands, the second hand has a hollow tube called a pipe. That pipe has to slide perfectly onto the arbor of the movement's fourth wheel. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. When I had to replace the movement on my Seiko Samurai, I didn't have the second hand seated correctly on the arbor. So when I tried to press it in place, I bent it. That's where this special second hand setting assistance tool from DIY comes in handy. The movement sits inside the holder and the opening in the top aligns perfectly with the second hand arbor. That makes it much easier to position the hand before pressing it into place. If you're new to this, I highly recommend getting one of these. It will save you a lot of frustration. You want to check the alignment of all four hands to make sure they move past each other without touching. Now it's time to make sure there is no dust or smudges on either the movement or inside the case. I used the dust blower and Rodico to remove anything I found. To fit the movement inside the case, I needed to temporarily remove the crown stem. The movement holder has a notch that needs to align with an indentation inside the case. It's a tight fit, so the movement has to be pressed evenly so it doesn't bind. Finally, we close up the case, reinstall the crown stem, and affix the bezel insert. Huzzah! If you're interested in assembling your own watch, the watch kit I showed is currently on sale at $460 regularly $540 retail. I'll leave my affiliate link in the description. Now, did you catch the mistake I made in this process? Let's rewind. Remember I showed you this hour wheel spring? Well, it was supposed to be attached before I installed the dial, but I didn't do that. Without it, the hour wheel can shift around or rub against the underside of the dial. So bear with me while I take the watch apart and reassemble it with this spring installed. Now I'll install the hour gear spring. Before I close up the case back, I'll install the custom rotor I ordered from DIY. I was going to put my channel logo on it, but it's too complex for engraving. So I simply went with my channel name. It's a simple operation. Just unscrew the old rotor and plop in the new one, making sure it rotates cleanly before closing up the case. It adds a nice personal touch to the watch, don't you think? Since I have a time grapher, I decided to check the accuracy of this NH34 movement. Before I went back and fixed my mistake, the movement was losing 30 seconds a day and had some noise. Now look at the time grapher. This looks great for this level of movement. Now that I've assembled the watch, let's take a closer look at it. Dimensionally, it's right in the sweet spot for a modern dive watch. The case measures 41.6 millimeters across, 47.7 lug to lug, and 14.8 millimeters thick, including the sapphire crystal with AR coating. The 7 millimeter logoed screw-down crown provides 200 meters of water resistance. Inside is the Seiko Instruments NH34 movement. It's not a fancy movement to look at and common for use in entry-level watches. It's an automatic that supports a GMT function that runs at 21,600 beats per hour with about 41 hours of power reserve. The bezel on this watch is bidirectional with 24-hour clicks, enabling, along with the 24-hour markings on the report, the tracking of 3 time zones. The real standout feature of this watch is the forged carbon fiber dial and bezel insert, both with C3 lume injected into the material. So every piece has a unique pattern. In bright light, the dial almost looks like black marble or swirling smoke. And in low light, the lume really gives it a different personality. The hands, indices, and bezel markings use BGW9 lube. That creates a softer glow effect that looks very different from most dive watches. For me, this is the kind of watch that feels sporty enough for casual wear, but still unique enough to stand out from the crowd. I think it's going to become one of my regular everyday watches. And here are 2 of my other favorite daily wear watches. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.